episode of the Rondell Lane podcast. You guys know I'm terrible with my episode number. I think this is 17, maybe. But today we have a very special guest,
Ashley
Ashley.
Thomas. Yeah.
Ashley Thomas, and Ashley is known as the Mocha Gardener. Let's welcome her to the show. All right. So, she's not just a gardener, but she's also an author. And you said a
Food
coach?
security advocate
security.
and a health coach.
Health coach.
That's
health
right.
Coach. So let's jump right into this. What got you into wanting to be a gardener?
Yeah. So that's a really great question. I think everyone has their motivations and their why for why they, get into growing things. But for me, it was more so growing food. So, I spent some time in Florence, South Carolina. Florence, South Carolina, Effingham, which is a small city or a small town within Florence, the county. And it's a deeply rural town. But it was there that was kind of like this turning point of me realizing the importance of, what we eat and access to the foods that we need to not just make it from day to day, but to really thrive and to have optimal health. Needless to say, Effingham, because it was deeply rural, it lacked the access to the nutritious foods that we needed. So taking care of my grandparents, I was, really kind of in this situation where, our food situation was precarious. And it made me think, like, we have all of this land available to us, and my grandfather was maintaining a garden, but it wasn't enough food to actually, to feed us from day to day. And I thought about this. I said, wow, this is crazy. So we can actually get the foods that we need by growing it. What if we were to actually start maintaining a garden? And that's where I met my husband. He grew up on a farm, or, well, a garden. His parents don't really call it a farm, but it's a huge garden. And so he was used to that. And when we moved here to North Carolina, we wanted to build our own garden. I've always been in touch with nature. Same with him. He's a country boy. But we wanted to really just build our own garden, but more so really to supplement our food supply with the foods that we wanted, the diversity, the richness, the colors, and really just, having that right there outside of our home. So that's kind of our why in
Okay.
a long-winded way.
Okay. So, with the knowledge of food that you have and been an advocate for, like, healthy food and food security, what do you typically eat? Like, do you eat junk food, or you're a vegetarian? Like, what?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Reason being is because sometimes we put so many labels onto what we can classify ourselves as, by our food, right? And then I found that because I used to have a label, right? But I was like, you know what? That's a box. That's just another title that we have to put on ourselves, another category for us to be divided and all that stuff. So I try to eat what I know is good for my body. And I like to explain it as a 80-20. I do 80% plants with each meal, and then 20% maybe some type of meat of my choice. I used to be vegetarian. I used to be vegan, but it's really just hearing my body. I eat what is best for me. And that's how I like to explain it. So in terms of junk food, I'm very, very conscious of these things, but I try not to overindulge in those things. I don't eat a lot of like chips and things like that. I don't eat, a lot of soda, drink a lot of sodas or
I have a
candies. I don't really like sugar, like sweets like that. But that's just kind of the habit that I was, developing over time. So I'm not a judgmental person when it comes to eating. I can't be as a health coach, right?
Yeah. How do you feel about? Do you consume like a lot of meat products?
Oh yeah, yes. Well, when I say I consume a lot of meat, I will eat chicken. I love seafood. If everything were to wipe away except for like fish and seafood, I'm just fine with that. There's so many different types of seafoods. But lamb, turkey, I'm good with that. I don't eat beef, and I don't really eat pork or anything like that. I will say that we are very mindful of where we source our meats. That's a big
I was
a
gonna ask you
big thing for us is, if I'm going to eat meat, eat some type of meat, I need to know where it's coming from. So we'll typically tap into our local farmers, co-ops
that.
where
So
we
no Walmart or
no, we try to stay away from that because
gotcha.
it's the conviction of I don't really know where this I don't know where this is. Now, if someone were to say this is all we have, are you going to eat it? I'm going to say, yeah, when in Rome, be like the Romans. But at the same time I am going to wonder. I'm not going to be like, "Oh, wow, this is great. I want to get it myself." No, if I have an option, I'm going to choose
Okay.
my local producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with the have you heard about the USDA? I guess kind of encouraging people to register their gardens. Have you heard about that?
I love that idea for one. I need to look back at this because this is new.
Yeah.
And this is actually something that I want to see more. I hope to see more incentives for people having backyard gardens. Now, if you're doing it for tax purposes, then that's going to be a bit iffy. However, if we're able to kind of move, start filling in the gap, encouraging more people to have backyard gardens, get tax incentives, actually get more, even SNAP benefits for this to help, advance people, then I think is great. But I don't want to speak too much on it, and I welcome your feedback and your thoughts on it if you know
Oh,
more
yeah.
information on it.
Well, it doesn't scare you a little bit.
What would be scary about it?
Uh, One would say if you go down the conspiracy theory route, it's just another way for them to kind of keep tabs on us.
Mm-hmm.
We know that they've been things like collecting rainwater in certain
Yeah.
states. It's illegal, so it's another. Big Brother is just
Yeah.
why does it matter if you have a
Right.
garden? Why do I have to let
Right. Why?
them know?
Well, I wonder, and this is why I want to be mindful of what I speak on because I haven't read this bill. I haven't read, what's in that package yet. So I want to keep my thoughts and my opinions very limited. However, if this is a way for them to say, hey, you can register your garden and there's some type of incentive or some type of, grant, like maybe you can apply for USDA grants now, or maybe there's some type of opportunity presented to gardeners where you can actually take advantage of funding to actually maintain your garden, then I think that that's a wonderful idea. I think that there are cons with everything.
There you go.
I think that there are cons with my phone right now.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
with even my social media, I think Big Brother is everywhere. It's just a matter of I'm under this assumption of if we're gonna be finessed, then you better learn how to finesse back. We have to make it work for us. You see what I'm saying? So how do we maintain our autonomy in a system that says it wants people to be autonomous, but to some degree, right? Right.
Speaking of that,
Yeah.
with you being on social media, do you ever get worried about, I guess, kind of everybody knowing that you have food and you have this luscious garden?
Yeah.
Is that to me, I would be, and actually, me and Kendra talked about this before. Right? I was telling her that's one of the reasons she won't make content.
Yeah.
Other than just being shy.
Yeah.
She's like, if The Walking Dead pops off,
Yeah.
I'm going to your house first.
Yeah. I mean, they could try it.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna say. They could try it. They could try it. Yeah. I feel like, to me, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of Wakanda spirit, but I feel like if people are gonna try anything, they're gonna come and storm your house regardless. As Black people, sometimes we have, we're of course we're gonna have that fear because we have been attacked. We have been invaded. We have come under fire, historically. However, when it comes to the hypotheticals of the Walking Dead and stuff, like people are gonna, try to come up and run up and come up in your place regardless. I'm not concerned. Not too much. I will say that when it comes to social media, one concern I do have is people knowing about like getting in my life. But especially like being way out there, like that's scary. We're very like we're just very laid back people. We're private. I believe in discretion, and I think once you're out there, there are just so many people that you're pretty much accessible, or people know so much about you. But I think that at the same time, it's a fear if we choose to be on social media, make boundaries. So I choose to share what I want to share, and I'm not sharing my address with people. So if you go as far as if someone ever comes up to my house or something where a garden is, then I'm gonna be like, oh, how you looked me up. So you're gonna have to, I'm from Detroit. Yeah. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm from Detroit originally. That's all I'm going to say. When you go to those measures to arrive without permission and consent, okay. It's just you and the Lord.
All right, I definitely get what you're saying there. So, speaking of social media, that's something that's passionate to me as a creator, and I make YouTube videos for clients and things like that. Mm-hmm. What made you decide to start documenting your whole process?
I don't know. I think social media to some degree is what you make it, right? Some people take it all the way and they feel this compulsion, like, I've got to do this. I've got to give the people what they want. But to me, I'm looking at social media like, hey, this is the strategy that I want. This is like a journal. And I wanted to kind of chronicle our beginnings, the conception of this journey of health and wellness. See, I had a mission, not just starting the garden, but a mission, period, that drives me every day. And that's to see people well. That's to see people eating well. That's to see people living well, right? And I wanted to share that and connect with like-minded people. And of course, it comes into educating and bringing awareness to these things. And that's the fun of it. So I think it's just this motivation of just connecting with others who have similar interests and people who want to just be a part of something that's bigger than them.
Have you monetized your social media?
Yeah. And so there's different ways of monetizing. Which way?
Just, I guess we'll start with the basic way. Mm-hmm. Just getting paid off of views and traffic.
Yes, so that is definitely a way that I monetize. Of course, there's the affiliate programs, and then there's partnerships, there's collaborations, and then that's really kind of open doors to other things as well.
Is this what you do full time? Like, do you have a job? Or?
Yeah, so I health coach and I'm a grad student. So, but I actually just transitioned from my full-time career, which was research management. So I was, doing a lot of like wet lab and also just management and therapeutic portfolios, innovation portfolios. And I was like, this is really kind of taking off, and this is kind of where I'm pivoting anyways, into nutrition and in dietetics and advocacy work. So I just kind of made the leap full-time last year.
Nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Was that a scary thing for you?
Absolutely. Yes. I went back and forth with God on this one. I'm a woman of faith. And I went back and forth and I said, there was just this small voice that said, you got to jump. And at this time, I was getting ready my book launch was coming out. There were so many things happening. I was wrapping up my health coaching program, transitioning into grad school. So many things were on the line, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to balance all of this. I had speaking engagements, so many different podcasts. I was traveling a lot, and I said, God, what do I do? And he said, you need to trust me. I need you to jump. And I think even before then, before I actually jumped, I don't even think there were that, like, the prospects weren't that. It was just a lot of hypotheticals, but there was just this deep urgency to leap into faith, and I just jumped afraid. And of course I talked with my husband, and I had to try to get some things in order, but having to make that decision is very scary. It's very tough, especially when you're
I did the same
in
thing.
your career, right?
Yeah, I had a safe
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't happy there. And
Yeah.
I felt like, the photography and video stuff was going great. And I was
Yeah.
at the time, my daughter's mom was like 3 months pregnant. So I said, it's now or never.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to try the entrepreneurial thing.
Yeah.
I got 6 months. If
Yeah.
it doesn't work, I'll just go get another job.
Yeah. It worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah.
So I left my job in December of 2014.
Okay. Oh wow. So you've been in entrepreneurship for quite some time now.
Yeah. Hasn't been easy.
How is it there? How is it up there?
It's nice. It's nice. Like
Excellent.
I have a lot of guests that come on.
Yeah.
And I always ask them this question, like their worst day as an entrepreneur, like if business is not going good, are you less stressed than when you're at work? And
That's
everybody
right.
says
Yes.
work was worse.
Yeah.
Like not being here as an entrepreneur, not knowing how you're gonna pay your next bill.
That's right.
Still is less stressful
That's right.
than the work.
Well, it's a different mentality, right? It's a different perspective. It's funny because the organization I left, I'm still very connected with them. I speak with them every week. Come to find out, they're on an initiative that I'm kind of an SME and providing, advisement and I'm running something through their pipeline right now. But I am working closely with them in food security. So isn't that funny how things work like that? So if I did not jump when God told me to jump, look at what wouldn't have been open.
Right.
And so I say, entrepreneurship is not easy at all. It's actually quite scary, but you got to learn to be a hunter, and you got to learn to have confidence in yourself. That imposter syndrome, it flies out the door where you got to go and eat. Yeah.
Yes. So collectively, well, first, what platforms do you focus on? Most, like social media?
Instagram and Facebook. However, I have over the past year, I've been slowly trying to move my brand off of not being dependent on social media, and that's going great.
Okay. See, no YouTube?
No
YouTube?
I tried, and then I just fell off the wagon. Like, people are like, why aren't you on YouTube? And I'm like, I was, but I'm doing a lot of things off of the digital space. I think right now my advocacy work is, a lot of human connection, one-on-one, a lot of meetings and conferences, and I do a lot of speaking engagements, a lot of lectures, and so the teachings are not just on social media anymore. And I wanted it to be that way because we've seen where something happens to social media and you lose your account or everything, or everything shuts down.
Right.
Then what do you have? And so I didn't want to be so social media heavy that I lose, my brand recognition out in the real world. Yeah.
That's pretty smart.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if you've heard, my algorithm is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
But there's been rumors of a internet pandemic
Mhm.
that could be happening pretty soon.
I bet.
Based on they're saying solar flares could knock out the internet
Okay.
for like 6 months.
Hey, you know what? I feel like whether it's a solar flare or whether it's a hacker that just hacks
somebody
into
just
your
turned a switch.
two-factor authentic, you see what I'm saying? Like, to me, that's risky.
Yeah, that's true.
And so I have a motto that I learned from my reverend of my former church, and it says, let your life service or let your lip service match your life service, and vice versa. What you say and what you preach has to match how you walk. And I have to make sure that what I'm showing on social media, that my life actually aligns to that. So I take very seriously training and learning, like research. And that's why I'm probably going to stay in academia for even after all of this. I'm going straight into my doctoral program, hopefully. But learning and connecting with people, like truly connecting with them, like looking at them face to face in their eyes. Sometimes social media cannot replace that. So, that's very important to me that I maintain that life service matching the lip service that I show on social media.
Collectively, how many followers do you have?
It's going up probably because of a recent release of something. So I think today it was like 31.3,
Nice.
and that's 31,000, and that's it. That's incredible. Like to me, and I know people have so much more, and they're like, I want 100 something, but I think any person that connects with me and that chooses, you make a choice to hit follow and watch me and comment. I think that is important. Like that's priceless. Yeah.
Yeah, that deserves a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. I believe that my followers I don't like to call them followers. I know that it says right there, followers, but I call them connections. Okay. I call these people because it's a mutually beneficial thing. I need to engage with them as well. I might not be following them, but I want to engage with them. And I think that when I refer to someone as a follower, I'm idolizing me to some degree, and I'm not. I'm just a human, just like them. So yeah, they'll see me in the magazines and on different things, and I'm like, I'm just like you. When I got to go home and cook dinner, and I got to go home and clean up my house for my husband, and just like you. And so I don't know. I think that there's a little bit of I need to make sure we stay humble no matter what, no matter how many magazines we're on.
Have you had any like rude people that just say dumb things in your comments about what you do?
No, believe it or not. Yes.
I have a friend.
I am thankful.
He went viral. He has people that just.
He does?
Yeah, he makes like product videos.
And
people just say the dumbest thing. Like, it's crazy.
I really try to keep things in, and I try to, emphasize and treat people with respect. I did have someone, I think maybe 2 years ago, they tried it. And see me, I have I'm a believer. I love the Lord, but I also love Crime Mob plays in my head. Crime Mob will play in my head, and I stay ready. So I haven't had to pop off or anyone, and I don't think I would because my image is image is everything. What I put out and how I speak to people. It's everything. It doesn't matter how we feel. This changes from day to day throughout the day. But you've got to use your mind. And so someone tried to, say something about earthworms. And they're like, I wouldn't expect for you to know. And I was like, how? How wouldn't you expect? You don't know. You don't know my background, for one. And that's the thing. People don't. And I didn't feel the need to flex on this person because, for one, I'm not a herpetologist. But I do know a little something about, organisms. But it was in that moment where people get mouthy. But that was pretty much it. She came correct. Afterwards, I think one of her friends who follows me kind of put her in her place. But I don't have trolls. Thank the Lord. Because I think God is trying to keep me saved, and He's trying to make sure I get to heaven. And I don't want to be tempted to do that.
I definitely understand that. So you said you wrote a book.
Yeah.
What is your book based on?
Yeah. So the title of the book is How to Become a Gardener, Find Empowerment in Creating Your Own Food Security. And the reason I knew I wanted to talk about, this topic, this concept that is very politicized, but at the same time, it's very applicable and relevant to everyone, and that is food security. We all have to eat. And sometimes, I think to some degree, we have been conditioned to think that our food supply is secure here in the United States, especially. But what I want to do is help people to question, what is food to you? And what we deem as food, where does that come from? Where does your food come from? Because if we look at, the prevalence of chronic diseases, especially in communities of color, but really just in America, period, in the United States of America, it's very high. Yeah. And so I wanted to really talk about this thing that I'm passionate about, which is starting a garden. But it's easy to tell someone like, hey, scary, food security stuff and then start a garden, grow your own food. But it's why. Why is that important? And how do you begin to adjust your mind and picture yourself as the gardener if this is something that you're interested in? So to me, there's an evolution of not just cultivating a space for growing food or taking care of plants, but cultivating you. The garden starts with us, yeah. We have to cultivate and prune and nurture all of these things within us. That's what a gardener is, yeah. And then we can take care of the things on the outside and be a steward over all of the green life around us.
For someone that has a terrible green thumb, what is the easiest crop to start?
That's a great question. I say there's so many easy crops to do. You've got tomatoes. I would say maybe a cherry tomato or like some type of bush tomato, because some tomatoes can be very overwhelming. Those are called indeterminates. And indeterminates basically reach for the heavens. They're just going to grow and grow and take over stuff. But they have delicious varieties. So I would say maybe a bush tomato that you can grow in a container. Squash, zucchini, herbs. You can't go wrong with herbs. Those typically do, fairly well in low light and things like that. But there's quite a few. It just depends on what is your space like, and what are your resources like, because then you can kind of determine what is good to start with and what will grow best for you.
Okay. For someone that because you have a lot of land, right? Like you have a garden. Like for people that live in apartments, what can they do to get started?
Yeah. So it depends on where you live, where your apartment is. If it's in Alaska, that's a whole different, or Antarctica.
We're just gonna focus right here locally,
in Greensboro. Yeah. So take advantage of some of these containers, small, like pots. I've got friends, and I've helped them to build gardens right there on their decks. Just being creative. There's vertical gardens as well that you are maximizing the space. And sometimes when we think of space, we think of just right here, horizontal. But space is also, vertical as well. So there are vertical gardens, and you want to think about your sun. What does your light access look like? Because that's going to determine what type of flowering plants you can have and how well they're going to do. And then you want to think about water. So I say start small, but space and a little bit of planning. And I talk about all of these things in my book as well. Okay. But taking all of these factors into consideration, it helps you to think about what's possible. We don't have a lot of land. We have an acre, but we're not growing on a full acre. We are growing on maybe 2,500 square feet. And so we produce food year round. But even before then, I've helped friends to grow food right on their balcony.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was interested in that.
Yeah. I got you.
Okay. So going back to social media, when did you start posting stuff?
Yeah, I started posting. I really just kind of snuck up on everybody because it was all random plant things on occasion, but just my life. And then next thing you know, one day I started just transforming this into a whole plant account. And that started in 2019. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So did you see an explosion of followers? I don't like that word. But did you see that once the pandemic happened?
I saw it before the pandemic in 2020. Yeah. So, right. That was the pandemic. You are right. So this was right before 2020. So I started seeing things. It started generating more attention. towards the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. It's been
Whoa,
3 years.
my goodness.
Yeah, like my algorithm and just stuff I saw people posting on Facebook. Everybody was talking about. Everybody, like, there's so many people that started gardens.
I think it's amazing. Yeah.
But none of them pretty much do it anymore.
Yeah.
It was a moment of time.
And that's what we see happen. And I mentioned this a bit more, that sometimes people garden for different reasons. It's a way of getting outdoors during a time of quarantine. It's a way where people felt like, oh my gosh, this is the end.
Right.
Our food supply is threatened. I need to grow some food.
Yeah.
And it was just a way for them to kind of stay sane and grounded when the world was in chaos. So I'm here for it. A lot of people learned, but now the world is shifting just a bit where people have to go back into work, and it makes it a bit difficult. But I think there's quite a few gardeners still out there.
Do you feel that it's a cost saving option to have a garden versus like when you go to the grocery store? Well, I know you don't buy your meat or stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Do you feel like you save a lot more money having a garden versus the person that has to go buy his and stuff?
You know that little emoji that goes like this? No. No. I say no because there are other costs associated with taking care of the plants, and there's time, and you got to buy. You don't have to buy seeds all the time. You can seed save, but then there's just buying fertilizer and things like that. So I'm not going to say that it's cost effective, but I will say that it provides you access with more food, and probably more diversity of foods that is typically very costly in the stores. And even if there isn't like a cost, much difference or, a decrease in costs, if you go into your produce section, or better yet, go into anything in the store, how many things can you say, I know exactly where this comes from?
Not many.
I know exactly how this got here to the store. I know exactly when this was harvested.
Speaking of that, like, what's your thoughts on like the GMO seedless?
I'm glad that you're asking about this because I have thoughts.
Because I have conversations with my friends about stuff like this all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I would like to hear it from you.
Yeah.
It's your world.
Yeah, so I have a science background, biology and chemistry, and to me, when I think about genetically modified or genetically engineered foods, everything we eat, everything that we pretty much encounter has been genetically modified to some degree. I will say that perhaps we need to consider our fear of GMO. Reason being is GMO is ultimately going to help to save us in our food supply. There are things happening in the environment that some of our crops are not adjusted and not adapted to, and we're seeing the effects of climate change on some of these things. So how do we begin to think about creating or cultivating more resilient plants? That's where GMO can come in. Even just thinking about crossing plants, that's genetically modifying things, crossing it, fertilizing one plant species with another plant species to create something a bit more hardy or pest resistant or drought resistant. So that is important. Given the seedless watermelons and stuff, they cross that thing because there's a lot of people, consumers, who say, I don't really like all the seeds. And that would be great to have a seedless watermelon. It's not going to be able to reproduce, so you're going to have to keep crossing these things. But do I think it's bad? Not necessarily. I don't think that all GMO, just the concept as an umbrella term, is bad, because many of the things we eat has been genetically modified. Do you like bananas?
Not really, but
Okay.
I know
You see
where
what
you're
I'm
going
saying?
with
Yeah.
this.
Cherries and apples and so many different things. And you best to know, if I continue to see stuff happening in our environment. There's a proliferation of certain types of pests that's happening because of just changes that are micro changes that are happening in the climate. And because of that, some of the things that we're used to growing are, you know, becoming susceptible to diseases and being eaten. So you best to know, I am going to be trying to cross things to in growing some of these more resistant crops that have simply just been fertilized with, you know, different plants to create something a bit more resilient. Yeah,
Okay.
we're kind of GMO. Yeah, people.
Yeah.
We-
I just don't know, man. That stuff
Yeah.
is just a little weird.
And I being a researcher, I am always of the understanding that we should always approach things with skepticism. Be mindful, be critical, yes, but at the same time, look at these umbrella terms and really weigh, why is this it? Why would someone use this type of technology? Why shouldn't they use this technology? What are the pros here? What are the cons?
I just think it. I don't know. I'll leave those thoughts offline.
It's a great question. It's a great topic, and these are things that I like to chat with people over some tea, or,
Yeah.
in my shisha.
She should. I wanted to ask you
Yes.
about that.
Yeah.
Like, I saw that. So for the people that don't know, because I had no clue what that was. Like, what is a she shed?
Yeah.
And why do you have a she shed?
I know. Great question. So I wanted a place to process all of the things that we were growing in our garden. And I told my husband's a builder, a fourth generation builder. And, you know, he just kind of goes above and beyond. I was just going to, I just said, I just need a little box and just a little sink to process all of the stuff. But he was like, I'm going to build you this she shed.
Awesome.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And I'm very grateful for it. I definitely did not ask for anything that elaborate, but here we are. But yes, it's to truly take that concept of garden to table, where we grow the food, I process everything, I do all of the jamming, I do a lot of distillations with our herbs, making oils and infusions. I also do a lot of canning, jam making in there. So it's kind of like my little workshop. It's a she shed turned we shed. Everyone likes to meet there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So kind of segueing
Yeah.
out of the gardening stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what do you find yourself doing for fun? Like, that doesn't involve work, social media,
I
gardening.
know. Yeah. Yeah. Good question.
Ashley time. Like,
I
what is
know.
Ashley
I know. Honestly, I found a thing that is a hobby turned work. Some people say, like, there's no way you can do something, that you're passionate about and it'd be fun. But yes, it just so happens that this is purposeful work and it's also my hobby. So for fun, I like to go and make blended teas. I like to play with my puppy. I love my family. My husband and I like to host things at our house. We like to feed everyone, just have a really great time. I like to travel and go to the beach. I love to camp and go hiking. We really just love to be outdoors. And my family's like that. So I would say just a lot of, quality time, a lot of, being with my friends and just doing things that are creating memories. Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, being out in the garden with my family and my friends. So
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me. I'm gonna be more direct.
yeah,
What's the last movie that you saw?
yeah. I don't really watch TV. I don't know the last movie that I saw. Like, I'll watch
Wow.
Netflix sometimes, and then eventually starts watching me. I just don't. We don't really watch. We don't watch TV.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't really watch TV. So I don't know. When the last movie? I wanted to see Little Mermaid, but just couldn't get around to it.
I heard it was trash.
Really? I heard it was great.
Well,
Man.
here's the thing. All of those Disney remakes,
Yeah.
they're trash.
You're right.
If
They're
you're not
remaking
gonna
stuff.
you're not gonna like it more than you liked
Hmm.
the
What about
original
the Black
animated.
Panther then? The second one.
Trash.
Really?
Yes.
Oh
Yes. Yes.
no.
Like I'm not gonna say trash. Well, here's the thing. Comic book wise, no.
Okay.
If you're just gonna wipe from your memory that
Yeah.
this is based on
Okay.
a character from the
Okay.
comics,
Yeah.
and it's just a movie,
Okay.
it's okay.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, they bastardized it.
Okay. It makes sense. I don't know. What about you? When's the last movie?
I watch a lot of. Well, I don't watch a lot of TV.
Yeah.
But I go to the movies kind of frequently.
That's cool.
Last thing I saw was Transformers: Rise of the Beast.
Oh, was it good?
3 weeks ago.
It was good?
It was all right.
Okay.
It was all right.
Oh, maybe. I just, we're still really iffy. Okay, so let me tell you about my husband and I. We're, during the quarantine, everyone was like, oh no, we can't be around people. We were just living our best lives, all secluded. I was like, we were thriving alone. And so just ever since then, germs, we didn't really go to the movie theaters, but we're really not going now. And I don't know. I'd rather watch something at home, but I don't know. I'm just not really. I'm more of an experience person. We do concerts. Yes, we like to go to museums, things like that. Yeah.
How's a concert different than the movie theater?
I know.
It's probably
weird.
worse. It's
You
more
would
people.
think so. It's outside.
Okay.
Okay. Outside. We are going
I'll
to
give you
this. Noel, this soon. I think there's one where Juvenile is going to be there.
I think I heard about that.
I know.
I heard
We're
about
trying to go to that one because we saw the Tiny Desk, and I was like, hey, all right.
Yeah, that was different. That Tiny Desk. That was different.
That's a good way to put it. It was definitely different. I
Didn't expect
loved
that.
it. I'm here for some occasional trap music, that New Orleans music, because that's where my family's from. So I'm here for it.
Another thing about food. Have you heard about the 3D printed chicken?
Yeah. So
So what's your feelings on that?
I don't like it.
Okay.
Of course. And that's a really great question, especially going from GMO
That's what I
into
asked.
stuff like that. Yeah. I'm all about innovation and I'm all about making things more efficient. But when it comes to imitation stuff, I don't really like Impossible burger meat, because I'm just like, just eat the real thing,
Yeah,
and eat a quality version of it.
I was reading about that, and a lot of people say that might actually be worse than just eating the meat.
Well, I mean, if you're looking for, just
There's so much
a
processing
no,
that goes
yeah,
into
like
that.
if you're just saying like I don't want to eat meat for the sake of just saying I don't want to eat meat, then I'm like, okay, well, but you want to have something that tastes like the meat. You want it to look like the meat. You want it to just eat the meat, right?
Right.
So even with, I got to be careful. There are just some options that, this is where I was talking about at the beginning, where we categorize ourselves and we feel like we have to do whatever it is that we need to do to fit within this category, but it's not efficient. It's not efficient in producing, and it's not efficient in digesting. So there was recently a sandwich that came out, delicious, but it's not the healthier version of this chicken sandwich. It's not because if we start to break down the macro and micro nutrients of both of these things, what is it? This is now it's become politicized because you're just saying, no, I'm not eating meat.
Right.
But you're looking at all of the stuff that's in it, girl or guy, eat that chicken thing.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna get ready to wrap up here. Let the people know where they can find your products, your book. Just shameless plug. Shameless plug away.
I appreciate that because I feel so bad trying to like plug myself sometimes. So you can find me on social media, Instagram and Facebook at the.mocha.gardener or simply the Mocha Gardener. And I will hopefully be back on YouTube, so keep a lookout for that. But my book is available everywhere. in major retailers, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, all of those places, Amazon, and there's an audiobook out that is available on Apple, really all everywhere. So I would be grateful for your support, and I am always welcome to people reaching out to me with questions or just to chat. I like having these conversations. I'm very laid back. And if I can, connect with you, I'm happy to connect with people. But yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Yes, reach out to me.
Do you have any plans for any more books?
I said when I finished my first book, I was like, oh my God. I clicked end and it was traumatic because I was like, there was so much writing. It's a novel. And then there's the photography and everything. But I ended that. I was like, I'm never writing again. Here I am preparing my thesis. I'm already thinking like, I actually enjoyed writing. So maybe, probably.
Do you have a blog or anything?
Yes, I actually just started it. My best friend got my website up and going, and we're tweaking and producing content. And that blog is where I want to have the deeper discussions about GMO, because now we're going to be tying in the nutrition aspect, which food is very personal. Food is our culture. Food is everyone's culture. Food is history. Food is the future. And I think that I want to help people to fall back in love with the foods that we eat.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thank you.
Well, appreciate you for coming on
Thank
the
you.
show. And appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Check her out. Go follow her, The Mocha Gardener. And I will catch you in the next episode. Peace. All right. That's it.
Thank you. This was great. Wonderful conversation.